we interrupt this program to bring you Courage, the Cowardly Dog Show!
Today is a very exciting day because we're going to be recapping and revisiting every single episode of Courage, the Cowardly Dog. I know for me, it was a very, very important show. I used to watch it all the time on Cartoon Network, and not just the horror, but also the eeriness of each episode really invoked a fear in me as a kid that I think started my love for horror. Horror is my favorite genre, if you don't know that. I don't know if it's super obvious with like the stuff I watch on this channel. I'm binging every single Disney and Pixar movie, so you wouldn't know. But I do think it was a great entry point for a lot of kids, especially because they would push a lot of boundaries with what they can show on a kid's show. I loved each villain and how mysterious they were. Some were so evil that they actually made comebacks. So if you don't know what Courage the Cowardly Dog is, it's about this little pink dog named Courage who has to literally save his elderly owners, Muriel and Eustace, from monsters that try to kill them. Yes, he's scared of everything, but the everything is literally monsters, so who can blame him? And even though he's terrified, he still risks his life to save Muriel, and unfortunately also Eustace. Today, my room is pink. It's super fun. I have a dog back there, Snoopy, because it's the only dog I have stuffed animal. I definitely need to get a Courage the Cowardly Dog stuffed animal after this. My mind was not there. I didn't think about it. We're just gonna do pink and dogs and then call it a day. One of Courage's owners is a Muriel Bag. She is this really sweet older lady who cares so deeply for Courage, but sometimes she's a little oblivious and, in my opinion, lets a little bit too much slide when it comes to Courage. Eustace is her husband, who is the absolute worst. He does not get better throughout the show. I will warn you. If anything, honestly, probably gets worse, but we'll get to it when we get to it. The three of them live on this farmhouse in, quote, the middle of nowhere, Kansas. I mean, you don't really need that much backstory because the intro is literally their backstory. Courage was, quote, abandoned as a pup. He was saved by Muriel. The three of them live on this farm. Crazy things happen on this farm, and it's up to Courage to save the day. The show aired on Cartoon Network from 1999 until 2002, but there was a pilot that aired in 1996. The creator is John R. Dilworth, and he is the most important person when it comes to the success of the show. He really had a vision and he stuck through with it, and I think we should all really just thank him for everything that he's done for this show. I mean, he was involved in every aspect that he could, and the deeper, more emotional episodes that we get come from him. He was the writer, he directed it in a certain way. He really was the reason why the show did what it did, and he always tried to push it even further as much as he could. Some weren't able to actually make it all the way through, but I feel like he did the absolute best that he could. And if you ever watch an interview with him, he is just this silly, goofy guy who you can tell absolutely loves the art of animation, filmmaking, every aspect of filmmaking he absolutely loves. Even though he's not an expert in everything, he does still enjoy the process. I think that's why a lot of the show just works so well, is because we have someone like him working so diligently behind the scenes to make sure everything flows the way it's supposed to. So yeah, shout out to you, Dilworth. You did amazing. So like I said, there is a pilot. There are 4 seasons that aired on Cartoon Network, and then there is another short that aired afterwards in 2014. So about 12 years later, which we'll get into. There's a lot for me to talk about, and last time I did one of these recap videos, the Scooby-Doo one, my voice was gone for like an entire week because I don't really talk that much. So talking for 8 hours straight, even though the video was only 3 hours long, it just goes to show how much actually goes into making one of these videos. So today, I'm drinking my Liquid Death to hopefully not destroy my voice for the next week. Pilot aired in 1996. It was a part of Cartoon Network's What a Cartoon, where shorts got picked and they just aired, and then from there they would pick some shorts and then create entire series from them. And Courage was thankfully one of them. It is on YouTube, which I will link down below so that you guys can watch it. It's a rough cut, but it does have the exact same vibe that the show has. The episode starts off with Courage on Muriel's lap. She's sitting at the table while Eustace reads a newspaper, and the headline is UFO sighted. A mouse scares Courage and he freaks out. He clings onto Eustace's face, and Eustace rips him off and scares him with this mask, this same mask from the intro. That mask unfortunately becomes a recurring character. I hate it. Courage, scared, goes outside and he sees the UFO. He sees a chicken come out of the UFO, and he immediately goes to tell his owners. and they actually come out ready to scrap. This trait isn't always part of the show, but I like that it was in the first episode at least. But the UFO is gone, so Eustace scares Courage again with the mask. But this time, Muriel smacks him on the head, thankfully. When she does this, it truly makes me happy. Courage hears commotion from the chicken coop and goes outside to see what it is, and the chicken is there, strangling an earth chicken. Courage runs to tell Eustace and Muriel, and Eustace pulls out the mask ready to use it again, which I thought was funny. Muriel comes out and just finds the alien chicken laying eggs, so she takes the eggs, and they have red spots on them. Regardless, she uses this to cook some eggs for Eustace, and he eats them and starts tripping out. Muriel sees this and doesn't take a bite of the eggs, and then Eustace starts turning into a chicken. The alien is watching all of this go down, and Courage sees him, so he slingshots a rock at him and knocks him out. This isn't enough to keep him down, so the two start tussling a little bit. Meanwhile, Muriel is freaking out because her man is turning into a chicken. They have a breeding contest, and Courage actually wins, and he packs up the chicken's suitcase with a sticker that says Mars on it and tells him to get the out of here. But the chicken is a cheater, and he shoots Courage anyway, but the beam misses him and actually hits a billboard that has the creator John's face on it, and it bounces back and hits the chicken, and he gets roasted. Muriel is inside fighting for her life until Courage comes in and shoots Eustace, and Eustace disintegrates. Courage and Muriel don't give a damn about what happened to Eustace, and they're just rocking in their chair when the same mouse that scared Courage in the beginning comes out and eats Eustace's ash, and then it starts turning into a little chicken. The closing black iris starts, and Courage says, "This shouldn't happen to a dog."
This shouldn't happen to a dog.
Ouch!
That voice. His ouch sounded like his regular voice, but I don't know what happened to this one. Also, Muriel and Eustace don't speak this entire episode. We get a little taste of what the episodes are gonna be like. Something happens, Courage needs to save the day, and then by the end of it, everything resets. There is only some continuity with some of the repeat villains, but that's for later. Right now, we're gonna start season 1. I watched all of this on Max, but I don't know what's good with Max. They mess up their episode order for so many shows. Specifically the shows that I like to watch. I don't know why, but I may have watched this out of order unintentionally, but I'm gonna do my absolute best for the video to just put them in chronological order. Eustace, Muriel, and Courage, which I need a quicker name for. It's a lot to say Eustace, Courage, and Muriel all the time. Let's do our faves plus Eustace, okay? So our faves plus Eustace drive up to the Katz Motel. Inside, they go to check in, and the guest book has all these names on it, and they're actually names from the crew members. Katz comes out from behind the desk, and he has his own little theme music.
Welcome to the Katz Motel. I'm Katz.
A lot of repeat characters have their own little theme songs, which I think is cute. It's the little things that matter on the show. He tells them to sign in, but then sees that they're carrying Courage, and he tells them no dogs allowed. So unfortunately, Courage has to be tied up outside. And look at him being tied up. Muriel assures him that it's only going to be for the night and gives him a little blankie, and again, look at him.
Good night, Courage.
Also, Courage fully speaks in these earlier episodes. They phase that out in the later episodes. Towards the beginning, he was speaking full sentences. Later on, it's gibberish and a few of his little catchphrases, but in the beginning, it's very much just, hey, I'm Courage, I'm a dog, and I speak.
It may be a good night for you. You'll be in a warm bed.
Inside, Muriel is taking a bath in a motel. That's disgusting. But we see a space chicken, and Eustace is going to bed. Back at the front desk, Kat goes into a room marked Pirates, and inside he has all these pet spiders. He tells them that dinner has arrived, and we see bones scattered around the room, so RIP those staff members. Inside the room, things get a little Scooby-Doo, and Kat peeks through one of the paintings. And then the light in the bathroom. Ew. Courage is shivering outside, and he sees Kat's shadow drop off a box, and out comes a giant spider that is just running towards Courage. Courage tries everything to get out of that leash. the only thing that works are his little teeth, and he has this little yay catchphrase. Adorable. Muriel is in the tub and a spider comes out of the faucet and Muriel screeches. Courage is looking for the room, and once he hears Muriel, he finds it, and they're in room 666 and a half.
It's Muriel! She's in trouble!
The door is locked, so Courage has to cannonball himself through it.
Oh, I hope this works!
He tries to wake up Eustace, but he's knocked, and he goes to help Muriel, who's in the bathtub struggling with the spider. Probably the only thing I hate about this show is the feet and how they draw them and how much attention is always brought onto the feet. Listen, I hate feet. The way they portray them on this show is just, it's so gross because they are unfortunately always front and center. So we have to deal with that. The bed rotates and Eustace is gone. Courage freaks out.
Where is everybody?
He goes into the private room and sees Eustace on a spider web, and the spider is creeping towards him, ready to eat him. He's still knocked, by the way. He has not woken up. Courage splats the spider with the floorboard, and Katz sees this and gets really upset. So Courage panics and throws Eustace at him.
I wish you hadn't done that.
Katz eventually corners Courage and then challenges him to a game of handball. This is so random. Muriel flushes a spider that was attacking her, and guys. No, like seriously, guys. Muriel is more pissed than scared, and then she goes to find her family. Meanwhile, Courage and Kat are still playing their handball game, and Courage loses. Katz is ready to off Courage, but then Muriel comes in and whacks him with the racket and tells Courage that we're leaving because the service here sucks.
The service here stinks.
She drives him back home, and Eustace is still in the spider web, and the episode ends with Courage screaming at the thought of getting a blanket just like Grandpa.
Maybe we should get you one.
This is the end card for season 1. I absolutely love. Katz is definitely a great first villain. It just shows how ruthless he is. Why is he doing this? Just to feed his spiders? He opened up an entire motel to trap visitors and feed them to his spiders, and he has succeeded. We saw the guest book. It shows how evil some of the villains can be and what a challenge it is for Courage to actually get out of it. We start out in a cave. This fox thing with gigantic eyes is cooking up granny stew with these disgusting ingredients. He's almost done, but he is missing the key ingredient, which is a granny. He puts on his shades and goes out to look for one. Meanwhile, Courage and Muriel are at the park feeding the birds, having a lovely time, except for the fact that the birds are making fun of Courage.
I don't like birds. They always make fun of me.
I don't like how mean everyone is to Courage. I'm saying that right now because it gets worse. The Cajun Fox spots Muriel, and thankfully for him, Muriel knocks out while feeding the birds. Courage sees the fox lurking,
Ooh, what was that?
but the fox pulls him out of her jacket and kidnaps Muriel.
Muriel stew? I don't know what I'm going to do, but it better be good.
So this is a very Looney Tunes-esque episode. It's just shenanigans back and forth, and it's not necessary for me to go through every single thing that happens. I'll just talk about a few things, like Courage robbing a store and smacking the shit out of the fox with a salami.
Okay, Fox, where's Muriel?
It's like things like that. Think of Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner.
Gotta stop that fox. Those rocks will stop him.
So this episode's definitely a watching episode, not a describing episode. And no other episode is like this. I think they just had a little fun with this first episode. The fox brings Muriel back to the cave and starts seasoning her. Courage crashes through the cave because he fell off a plane or something, and this makes the fox go into the stew instead.
What? Wait, don't do it. No, no.
Muriel wakes up and for some reason is like mad at Courage for this.
Courage, what am I doing here?
I have no idea. She smells the Cajun Fox soup and wants a little nibble, but the Fox and Courage are like, no thank you.
No thanks. I've had enough Cajun for one day.
This one's a very, very quick episode. We start off with this guy, and he's telling his butler, Jennings, about wanting to purchase the moon. Very groove of him.
But some things are just not for sale.
The guy says, anything is for sale, including people. You should know after 50 years. Damn. He fires Jennings, and then laughs so hard that he dies. He tries to call out to Jennings before, but Jennings is off the clock. He's done, so he doesn't help him. His shadow comes to life and says that he is free.
I'm free.
So this guy must have been a piece of shit if his shadow doesn't even like him. At an ice cream shop, the shadow harasses this little girl, but then thunder and lightning scare it, so it runs away and it runs straight to the farm. Inside the house, Eustace and Muriel are sleeping, but Courage is up because of the storm. He can't sleep. Dogs don't like thunder. He sees a shadow come into the house and tries to warn them by babbling. He babbles here and there, and he also plays charades. Not sure if I mentioned that, but I'll include all of them because I think they're so much fun when he freaks out and when he does charades. He's very creative with it. They actually believe him and they go downstairs ready to scrap, but of course there's nothing there, and Courage begs Eustace in English to believe him.
This is crazy. I saw a burglar. I did.
But Eustace just throws him in the attic and turns off the lights. In the attic with this computer, for later, Courage is imagining all the terrible things that can happen to Muriel.
I just know something bad is going to happen.
The shadow scares him and he goes downstairs to try to warn them. Eustace says this.
Did you break that door?
And it actually made me cackle. They run into the attic, they turn on the lights, so the shadow is gone.
I'm giving you one more chance to act like a real dog.
Master.
Muriel is in bed waiting for Eustace. The shadow decides to morph into Eustace, strangling Courage. She beats his ass.
Now you sleep in the attic.
Muriel takes Courage back to bed and they hear Eustace screaming. Muriel goes to check on him.
Wait, you stay here. I'll go. It must be nuts.
All that's left of Eustace is his hat, and then when Courage comes back to the room, Muriel is missing too.
Stay calm. Stay calm. Oh!
Courage goes back to the attic and searches evil, shadowy, evil things.
Evil. Shadowy. Evil things.
The computer makes fun of him and then shows him how to get rid of evil shadows.
Pleasant conversation. 2. Move out of the house.
Are you kidding? This thing is dangerous. How do you talk to an evil shadow?
It's useless. Courage is so scared, but he knows he has to save Muriel, and it's so sweet.
Things I do for love. Hey, Shadow! Are you down there?
Courage keeps turning the lights on and off, and this stresses the shadow out so much.
I can't take it anymore. On and off.
He just tells him, I don't even have Muriel or Eustace. Muriel was in the bathroom and he has no idea where Eustace went. Courage plays therapist for the shadow and they talk about his problems. He says that he wants to be in showbiz.
I don't know how to make it in showbiz, but up there are the real stars. Why don't we hang with them?
And he does. He goes all the way into space. And the episode ends with Muriel scaring the shit out of both of them.
Ready for bed, dearies?
Now that's what I call scary. Know what I mean?
Shadow was definitely an interesting villain. It seemed like he was just having a little bit of fun for the most part, something that he couldn't do being stuck to that guy for so long. I also don't think he really did anything too crazy. I mean, he was just the shadow, and it turns out he didn't even hurt Muriel or Eustace. A fun, misunderstood villain. Eustace is hammering the roof and Muriel is scolding him for making so much noise that he's gonna wake up the neighbors. A roof pane hits Muriel on the head and she loses her memory.
Oh, no!
She can't recognize herself or her husband in their wedding picture. She doesn't know Eustace's name or Courage's name.
Oh, there's something wrong here. Or my name is Jose Santos de Guatemala. And it's not.
So Eustace uses this to kick Courage out of the house. I hate him. He tells Muriel that she's a slave woman and she has to do all the chores in the house. Courage breaks into the attic to use a computer to research amnesia specialists. He finds Dr. Quack, and this is his office that's filled with priceless artifacts. He goes to the farmhouse and Eustace immediately tells him to get out, so he hits him with a hammer and then drags his unconscious body into the closet.
Oh, what have I done?
Courage sees this and freaks out and goes to save Muriel, but Quack sees Courage and goes after him too. Courage runs away, so then Quack is left with Muriel and he gets to scheming. Courage peeks through the window and sees Quack tickling her foot with a feather, and I'm telling you, these feet are crazy. At some point, he has pies being thrown at her every single time she says she can't remember where the valuables are. Courage, meanwhile, tries to call the cops, but all he gets is an email back from them.
You poor thing. What do you want from us?
Courage tries to help Muriel again, but then tries to sneak out before Quack comes, but Quack boarded up the door, so he's stuck there. Quack starts vacuuming up Courage. There's so much stuff in his pockets that the vacuum overfills and explodes. Out of nowhere, the police come and arrest Quack. Courage goes to see Muriel and she asks where Eustace is, so she got her memory back.
Where am I? Who are you? Who am I?
But that's fine, who cares? It cuts to the road where the police left with Quack, and it pans to the police car overturned and Quack in a police uniform telling us that we have not seen the last of him.
Wait, you have not seen the last of Quack.
Ouch!
Quack is definitely up there with the worst of the worst villains. I mean, he preys upon people and robs them, and he made a business out of it. Muriel and Eustace are watching a movie and Courage is drinking some milk and he hears some growling coming from outside. We don't see what it is, but we do see its shadow and it looks like this. Courage does this. Muriel goes outside to see what's going on and just finds this huge mess. She just thinks it's raccoons. She puts a pie in the windowsill and then they all go to bed. Courage sees something outside and runs to the kitchen and he finds something trying to take the pie. And Courage is not letting this happen because this is their dessert for tomorrow.
Oh, no, you don't! Raccoon or not, you're not getting this pie!
He tries to pull it back, but eventually the pie just gets flung onto Courage and it splats, makes a huge mess. Muriel comes down and is like, oh, whatever, I'll just make a new one tomorrow. Thankfully, she's fine with it.
There was something on the other end of that pie, or my name's Aloysius. And it's not.
In the morning, Muriel is making the pie and Eustace and Courage are watching the news. Nowhere news. The news reporter says that Bigfoot has been spotted, and this is the proof.
Is here.
The Nowhere Museum is offering a $25 reward and a lifetime membership to anyone who catches it. Eustace is hyped and he says that he's gonna catch it. Courage thinks that maybe the thing that he saw last night is Bigfoot, so he goes to investigate and finds these giant footprints and then has an anxiety vision of what is going to happen to Muriel. Again, the feet. Eustace is prepping to catch Bigfoot and Courage tries to warn him about the footprints when there's a knock at the door. It's this lady.
Please, mister, my little boy is lost.
Who asks them if they've seen her missing son. Eustace slams the door in her face and then Muriel says, let's have some pie.
Who could worry on an empty stomach?
Courage walks into the kitchen and sees this. They have this food fight, they go back and forth, all to this orchestra. This then happens. Eustace leaves and he comes back with an angry mob. Courage tries to stop them by letting them know that he's actually nice. Eustace doesn't care, he just wants a reward. The lady from earlier looking for her son runs up to the mob, tells him to stop and to leave her son Theodore alone. When the mob sees this little moment between mom and son, it softens the mob, but Eustace is the only one who doesn't care. He snaps this around his ankle and the mob are like, guy, let him go, and he says no. So then the mob goes after him. Courage unlocks his ankle cuff, and then Theodore's mom yells at him for not staying in the backyard when he's playing outside. And the episode ends with our faves eating a little pie on these steps.
There's a little Bigfoot in us all, isn't there?
Bigfoot, I don't know if he was really a villain. I mean, he is just a lost child. I don't think he really counts. But I think it was an important episode to show how greedy Eustace is and how caring Muriel and Courage are. They do try to understand them, even if no one else will. We start in the living room and Eustace sees an ad for some experimental hair growth. He goes without telling anyone, but Muriel makes him take Courage because he has a grooming appointment.
Then you should take Courage for his haircut.
Look at Courage, he's so cute. They get to the experimental institute and they see this guy thanking the researcher. Eustace is called next and he leaves Courage outside, but Courage thinks something weird is going on. Inside, Eustace is in a gray room answering the speakerphone's questions, mostly about when he became bald, if it runs in the family. They start testing other things like resilience and this. Courage escapes from his leash and he goes to the bathroom, but in the bathroom he sees this guy, the same guy from earlier, using the drops that the researcher gave him. And when he tries to wash his hands and there's no paper towels, he gets so angry that he literally explodes the bathroom.
Oh my.
The bottle rolls over to Courage and Courage sees on the label that it says, "Do not get mad."
Do not get angry, do not get mad, do not get upset, or else...
Courage runs to Eustace and tries to warn him about this old guy. But he does not listen, obviously. Eustace applies the drops on his way home and he gets cut off by this guy.
Watch where you're going, you fool!
His name is Dai Lung. I'm not exactly sure when we find out his name. I feel like it's in season 4, but throughout my notes I was just calling him the fool guy, this guy, that guy. So just to keep it simple, his name is Dai Lung. D-Lung? Dai Lung, I think. His name might be D-Lung throughout this entire video. I'm pronouncing it Dai Lung. I don't think they ever say it on the show. If I'm wrong, I'm so sorry. And this infuriates Eustace that he blows up this guy's car with his mind. They get home and Muriel tells Eustace to fix her squeaky chair, and Courage gets scared that Eustace is gonna get mad at Muriel and then blow her up. And he's not wrong to be scared because he gets mad at the phone. It turns to ashes. Muriel can get Courage's dog food open, neither can Eustace. The kitchen blows up. Courage at this point is so scared that he's trying to keep him calm by rubbing his feet. Again, ew. Muriel asks him to thread her needle and he is about to blow up the entire house, but then he sees a single hair and calms down.
Oh.
And no other hairs grow, so he blows up the entire house. Courage and Muriel sit outside in the rubble, and Muriel asks Courage to remind her to get Eustace to fix her squeaky chair.
Mind me to tell Eustace, whenever that man gets back, to fix this chair.
This is definitely an episode that is up there. I remember this scaring me as a kid and I loved it. It starts off with Muriel telling Eustace that they are getting a new mattress and she does not want to hear a thing about it. Look at this mattress, it's so raggedy. The next day, Eustace is looking through the newspaper for some mattress sales. He finds one that says with our mattress will change your life forever. They call the number and this gross voice answers.
Are you ready to change your life?
And Courage picks up another phone to listen in. And I have in my notes, LOL TBT. Muriel says hell yes to this new mattress and tries to give them her address, but they already know. It cuts to these two rodents carrying the mattress out and bringing it to the farmhouse via horse carriage. Courage sees a face in the mattress and freaks out.
I have a bad feeling about this. My name is Ivana, and it's not.
Muriel gives them no type of money and just takes the mattress immediately upstairs. By the time Courage gets up there, the room is green, and Muriel kicks him out so that she can have a nap. Courage climbs a ladder to see through the window what's going on. He sees this thing entering Muriel, and then she starts levitating. He runs to tell Eustace. And when they open the door, this is Muriel.
Won't you join me?
And then this happens.
Can one of you boys give me a hand?
They actually both freak out and run away, and downstairs they're trying to figure out what to do, and Eustace tells Courage to go upstairs because she likes him more, and he does. And upstairs the room is freezing. The demon Muriel says this and taunts Courage by telling him that the real Muriel is still in there.
What have you done with Muriel?
She's here with us.
Courage, help me!
He challenges it to a thumb wrestling match, which she loses. Goes upstairs to get instructions on how to perform an exorcism.
Instructions for your basic exorcism. Oh my.
Just give me the instructions.
Good luck, kid.
This being a kid's cartoon is absolutely insane. Not just because the demon is scary, but there are religious themes in this episode, and exorcism is crazy. That's like one of the scariest things that can happen to religious people. The first step is to wear something flowy. So Courage gives him one of Muriel's nightgowns. The next is to recite this.
Hullabaloo and howdy do, musty prawns and Timbuktu.
Which is obviously the prayer, but they can't put that in the show. Eustace goes in and Courage is his cheerleader.
Get that demon! Get that demon!
Eustace butchers the prayer so bad.
Hullabaloo and howdy do, musty prawns and Timbuktu.
The demon does this and then throws up on him. Courage then gets one of her nightgowns and tries it himself, and look at him. But he can't even say it.
Rullabaloo, rowdy roo, rory rough, rough, rimbuck roo, 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 rory rough, rippity roo, rick him in the wristband, roo, roo, roo. Even
though he can't even say it correctly, it still works, and this demon is exorcised from Muriel. Eustace comes back into the room and the demon takes over him instead, but this time Courage bites him and Muriel bonks him. They roll him up in the mattress and call the rodents to tell him that they were not satisfied, and the rodents come back to pick up the mattress with Eustace still in it and then drive off. Muriel and Courage sleep together on the couch.
Now, isn't this cozy?
Now this is a bed I can sleep in any day.
I'm not really sure who the villain is. Is it the rats or is it the demon? Obviously the demon is there, but the rats should count as well. The rodents, whatever they are. I think one of them was a ferret. Their customer service is a little too good for them to be evil villains. Terrifying demon. He taunts them. He destroys their physical body. That one was scary. Full disclosure, I did not like this episode as a kid. This episode starts off with this guy, Fred. He is narrating this episode and he has his own little theme music.
I said, my name is Fred, and I've been very naughty.
His favorite word is naughty, and he speaks in rhyme. At the farmhouse, Muriel is excited to have Fred visit them. Eustace is boarding up the door and calls Fred a freak, and Courage is helping him. Eustace tells Courage that Fred is a barber, and he owns a freak barber shop. But this is Muriel's nephew, so the bus drops him off in front of their farmhouse. Courage tries to suss him out, but Fred sees him looking at him, and he just gets weird. Like I don't like his narration. It sounds creepy and gross.
D-O-G is what he spelled, and that's how I spell naughty.
Courage peeps a bracelet that says "Home for Freaky Barbers." He tries to warn everyone, but no one listens. Muriel makes Courage draw Fred a bath.
Such a fuss. This rudeness won't do.
Okay, I'll do it. But I won't like it.
Upstairs, Courage takes him to the bathroom and Eustace gives him the towels and slams the door shut. This part made me laugh.
I heard the door slam.
The door slammed.
Oh.
The door is stuck though, they can't open it, and Eustace isn't really trying to. Inside of the bathroom, Courage is trying to leave so bad, but Fred is just staring at him. Fred talks to Courage about hair and how it makes him feel so happy, and about how he felt the first time he saw this hamster's hair.
I'd never felt so naughty.
He starts prepping Courage for this cut, and then we find out that he shaved that hamster bald.
That's when I got naughty.
He then shaves Courage's head bald. Fred's next story is about Barbara, who he also shaved bald.
And her fair hair are mane untamed. But in this case, I realized she needed space.
Courage is trying so hard to leave. I feel so bad for him. And Muriel annoyed me so much because she comes up with pancakes and she sees Courage's little hands clawing to get out, and she just thinks that he wants pancakes and doesn't even try to help him. Fred force feeds these pancakes to Courage, and Courage tries to call the number on his bracelet. This is while Fred tells another story about a bearded fella who came into his barbershop who he shaved bald as well.
Just a trim, partner.
I'd never seen such hair before.
Meanwhile, Courage is damn near bald too, but he's able to call the number on the bracelet. The last fur Courage has is on his tail, and before Fred can get to it, they hear sirens outside.
What took them so long?
Fred gets dragged out in a straitjacket, while Muriel is just saying bye, as if nothing happened. Like, what is your problem? Look at Courage. After he leaves, he continues to narrate, and his last line is, "With love, Fred," and it pans to Courage's almost completely shaved body, except for the same signature that he left on Courage.
Naughty. With love, Fred.
I know this is a fan favorite, but I do not like it because I don't like how Muriel behaves in this episode. It's just way too oblivious for me. Courage is supposed to be your one and only, and this is how you're letting people treat him? Courage and Eustace fell asleep watching this on TV. I thought it was fun. The creator did say that he enjoyed mixing all these mediums together. I enjoy it too. Outside, Muriel is picking some carrots and she sees a little bunny. She goes to give him a carrot, but then there's something coming towards them, and while she's turned around, it snatches the little bunny up. So sad. Muriel thinks that the bunny went inside the hole, so she reaches in with the carrot, but gets bit. They go to the doctor, and it's this guy. We all know this guy. One of the most standout characters on the show.
There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing at all.
Her hand is completely swollen, and the doctor says that she'll be okay. She just has to keep soaking it. At home, Muriel starts to feel a little sick, so Eustace makes Courage go check on her. But when he does, she is this. He faints and has to be taken back to the hospital. At the hospital, the same doctor is tending to Courage, but Courage just drags him back to the house to check on Muriel. He also refers to Courage as Muriel's son.
Your son here says there is something wrong with you.
At home, Muriel is watching her fave TV show, and things seem normal, so the doctor asks her to just open her mouth up. She does, and then chomps on his head. She drags him into the basement via this hole. Courage goes to warn Eustace, but Eustace thinks that he's saying that there's mice in the house. so he goes to get his mallet. Courage does some research and the computer tells him that it's a weremole. They come out in the full moon and eat rabbits and people. If you're bitten by one, you become one, and the only cure involves getting a hair from the one that bit you.
Just don't get bitten.
Courage goes outside wearing his little costume, waiting for the weremole to come get him.
The things I do for love.
This is while Eustace finds the mallet and bonks Muriel like a whack-a-mole. The weremole finally comes and snatches up Courage in the bunny costume. He shakes him so much that he falls out of the costume, so the weremole is distracted with the bunny costume. Courage is able to just pluck a little hair out. Eustace is inside going through it too. Courage comes through and slaps that little hair into Muriel's mouth, and she falls through the floor. When Eustace and Courage go downstairs to see if she's okay, she is fine, watching her favorite show again. They don't trust it at first, but no. It's her, she's fine. But the house is destroyed. Out of nowhere, the doctor, who is now a weremole too, comes out of the floor and grabs Eustace, and we can hear Eustace bang him with the mallet. I don't know if I can even count it as a villain because it's just an animal, you know what I mean? Like, yes, it's a were type of animal, but who knows how it became cursed? It has no idea what it's doing. And I mean, it's just trying to eat, you know? It's not really doing anything evil. Muriel is telling Eustace that he needs to go visit his mother, but Eustace does not want to. He tells her that he'll go if she goes, but Muriel is not going to see that lady, so she makes him take Courage instead. Eustace tells Courage that he'll give him a signal to act like a bad dog so they can get the hell out of there, but Courage doesn't even know how to growl, so he doesn't know how to be a bad dog. They get to his mom's trailer, and she is so excited to see Courage, but not Eustace.
Hi, Ma!
Hello, Courage.
She calls him a stupid boy, so we see yet again the cycle of abuse. Her name is also Ma Bag, so I'm just gonna call her Ma because Eustace's mom is crazy to keep saying. Ma loves Courage, and this makes Eustace very jealous. He tries everything. He tries giving her the chocolate that he brought her, the flowers.
Oh, I hope this works.
She hates chocolate, allergic to the flowers.
Joe!
The only thing she likes is this mirror, which she uses to get ready for a picture, but she wants a picture of her and Courage, and Eustace has to take it. Then when Eustace is like, what about a picture of me and you, Ma? She's like, no, I'm good. Courage is super uncomfy during all of this because he is finally getting some positive attention from someone outside of Muriel, but it's making Eustace, the person he has to live with, angrier at him. So he doesn't really know how to take it, especially when she gives him one of Eustace's old teddy bears. This just makes him snap.
Why don't you ever give me any presents?
And his mom drags him for not being a man. So he challenges her to an arm wrestling contest. Eustace is losing, so he threatens Courage into sabotaging his mom so that he can win. Courage takes the flowers and puts it near her so that she can sneeze. And when she does, she sneezes off her wig. She is bald, just like Eustace. No, but for real, she's distraught because she thinks she looks so ugly, and how can Son love her when she's this ugly? Eustace tells her that she always looks good to him, and they have this little moment. Him and Courage go home and show Muriel the picture that they took.
Ooh! Isn't that lovely?
We start off on the farmhouse, and this giant light beams down on it.
Is it morning already?
And Muriel gets taken up into a spaceship. Courage sees this and tries to drag Eustace out, but there's nothing there by the time they get outside.
Stupid dog!
But it was up there.
We see that Muriel got abducted by aliens and she is surrounded by all these surgical tools. These are the aliens, these duck creatures.
I told you to stop doing that. You'll wake up.
They put this metal helmet on her and start controlling her via this remote. They bring her back to the house and put her back in bed before Courage and Eustace even get back upstairs. But Courage sees this metal helmet and is like, what is that? Muriel gets up and starts walking. She gets in the truck and drives to this army checkpoint.
This is not like her.
The guard lets her in because she's just a sweet old lady. Courage follows her and sees some eggs rolling by.
I told you to stop doing that.
Courage begins fighting with the ducks to get this remote back, but Muriel ends up in the kitchen where we see the chef preparing a duck. But this duck is one of the alien creatures. Outside, Courage stole the remote back from the aliens.
Oh, do you give? Do you give?
But the aliens just come back with Eustace wearing the metal helmet too, and then they try to use him to save their brother. So Courage is controlling Muriel now, and then Eustace is getting controlled by these alien ducks. They both start to fight in like the Sock'em robots type of fight. This ends with both of them losing and losing the helmets as well. And the ducks start crying because they don't know what else to do. And when Courage asks them what's wrong, they tell him that their brother is trapped and they're about to get eaten.
I have a plan.
Courage agrees to wear a helmet and let them control him to go rescue the brother. And he passes by a bunch of incubated aliens, which I thought was a fun detail. He saves the brother and then they go back to arguing about laying these eggs. The next day, Muriel and Courage are served breakfast in bed by a mind-controlled Eustace thanks to Courage.
Technology.
The Duck Brothers are an interesting villain because they do use humans as their puppets. It's for a good cause at least, and once they save their brother, you know, they move on. So again, I don't know if they're really villains. Courage once again proves that he's willing to help if you just ask him to. Courage is outside digging for his yo-yo and he finds this box.
I know I put it here somewhere. Hey, what's this?
Inside, Muriel is talking to Eustace about his brother and how it's his birthday. Eustace doesn't care though because he never told him where he hid his box of money. Courage comes in with a box. Courage takes a peek and just hears these demonic incantations. And he tries to stop Eustace.
Open!
But he can't open it either way. In the living room, they see a commercial about a medium named Shirley, and Muriel suggests hiring her so they can resolve this once and for all because his brother did die.
I just know something bad is going to happen, or my name is Archibald. And it's not.
Shirley comes to the farm and immediately tells them that if they're trying to contact the dead for personal gain, there will be consequences. Eustace doesn't care, so she contacts the brother, but there's no answer.
The party is not answering.
Courage asks something,
Yo-yo?
and she sees
I see.
a yo-yo under the sofa. This makes Eustace very impatient. Shirley reminds him once again that if he contacts the dead for personal gain, there will be consequences. Courage tries to stop him too. Shirley finally gets through to his brother and he tells Eustace that there's nothing in that box for him. But after he keeps asking over and over again, his brother tells him that the key is in his hat. Immediately after this, he kicks out Shirley and goes to open the box. Courage calls from a payphone to tell him not to open it.
Hello!
Don't open the box!
You're not getting my money, whoever you are.
Eustace understands him perfectly, he just doesn't know who's calling. Eustace opens the box and these two demonic hands come out and snatch his ass up. Courage is okay with this.
Okay, you can have it!
But then they also snatch up Muriel and he has to go save them. Courage goes outside to get the clothesline and secure Muriel and Eustace. He runs back to Shirley to tell her what happened. He brings her back to the house and she just closes the box. And when this happens, a dollar bill flies out. So Eustace, seeing this, opens the box again and immediately gets dragged in. And inside, he is surrounded by piles and piles of money, but there's nothing else. The next day, the house looks like it was waist training. Muriel and Courage are sitting in the living room with the box. Muriel tells Eustace that they will get him out as soon as they find the key, and we see that Courage is hiding the key in his mouth.
But first we have to find that key.
Good. Keep him in there forever. This episode, Eustace was the villain, as he is in most episodes. I'm glad he got his little comeuppance, and Courage was able to give him that by not giving him the key immediately and keeping his ass locked in there. This is definitely one of my favorite episodes because of the creepiness. I mean, everyone knows this episode, or at least the villain and his creepy chant. We see these what look like foxes on the run, and there's a helicopter chasing them. They pull over to hide something from their trunk. They bury it and say that they'll come back to it once the coast is clear. Once back in the car, they see this fog surrounding them, and we only see the shadow of what they see, but it's telling them to return the slab or suffer the curse.
Return the slab, or suffer my curse.
They're like, yeah, you and what curse? And then a swarm of bugs engulfs their vehicle. The camera pans to the farmhouse that's right next to where this happened. And then back to the road and the cars and the robbers gone. Courage even hears the ruckus outside and tries to see what's going on, but he doesn't see anything.
What's going on out there?
The next day, Courage is digging and he finds a slab that the robbers hid. The slab has these etchings on it. Eustace, being a dick, says this:
Judging by the markings and the obvious age of the relic, I'd have to say it would be garbage!
And then throws it out the window. The news comes on and they talk about $1 million slab being stolen from the tomb of King Ramses. Of course, Eustace sees this as a chance to get some money. Courage sees on the slab that one of the etchings disappeared. There's a knock at the door and it's this guy, Professor Frith. He came to reclaim the slab, but Eustace says that he has to pay him first. Courage tries to warn them, but doesn't work. The institution is a donation only, so there is no reward money, but they can get this fun little tote. Eustace slams the door in his face and then starts hugging the slab, mumbling what he's going to spend all this money on.
Fly swatter, spark plugs, shovel handle, razor blade, light bulb for the attic.
He hears some rustling outside and it's King Ramses. He's like this weird 3D-ish medium, and I think that's what really makes him stand out because he just looks so off in this 2D world. It just, ugh. He's so creepy and I love it. Also, his voice doesn't help.
Return the slab, or suffer my curse.
Eustace asks him for money. Eustace looks this thing dead in the face and says, "Give me money." King Ramses tells him that they will be visited by 3 plagues that night, each worse than the last. Eustace thinks it's just the professor wearing a costume.
I can see the zipper on that cheap dime store costume.
Courage sees the wave etching in the slab disappear, and then suddenly there's a giant storm inside of the house. They're in the attic about to drown while Eustace is wearing his scuba equipment. Courage has to go all the way to the basement and unplug the house's drain so that all the water can escape. And every time cartoons do this, I always hold my breath to see if I would make it, and this was not one of those times. After the house is flood-free, the ghost says,
Oh, come on.
As they're drying off, the next play comes. It is this annoying song being played over and over and over again, so loud that they have to cover their ears. Courage follows the sound and finds a record player and smashes it. Eustace still refuses to give up the slab, and the next plague starts. It is a swarm of locusts, the same that we saw with the robbers in the beginning. These locusts eat everything in their path, so we can only assume that they ate the car and the robbers inside. Courage tries to get the slab, but Eustace refuses to give it up until the bugs are literally eating damn near the entire house.
Okay, you can have it!
Courage tosses the slab to King Ramses, and Eustace chases after it. It lands at the feet of him, and Eustace taunts him by saying that he's out of ammo because the 3 curses are done. Unfortunately for him, the locusts just make a U-turn and go straight for him. The next day we see on TV that the slab was returned to King Ramses' grave, but so was Eustace.
What's your offer?
This episode's so fun because he's just so creepy, but like, is he really evil? I mean, they robbed him and now he's getting them back. And it's not like he keeps going after he gets his things back. He gets it back and then leaves. I think he's justified. What do you guys think? Yay. More feet episodes. During bedtime, Eustace keeps mumbling in his sleep that his foot is itching him. It makes him wake up and he thinks that Courage is itching him, so he kicks the shit out of Courage for no reason. But Muriel tells him that no, there's something wrong with your foot, like it might be a fungus or something, and this is what it looks like. She assures him that she has a bunch of home remedies to treat this, and these include rubbing it with a cactus, putting it in a pile of lobsters, and putting them in a bucket of toxic waste.
Oh dear.
Muriel says the last thing they can do is go to the doctor, but he refuses and opts to take a nap instead. He wakes up from the nap and says he feels so much better, but he looks down and his foot fungus has literally engulfed his entire body and is still doing so. He's just a foot now. Courage walks in and sees this foot, obviously freaks out. These guys are talking like gangsters, and the big guy's in charge, obviously. And he calls Muriel a fat woman and tells her to shut up and that they're going to be robbing a bank.
Oh no, gangsters! Muriel, get away!
Muriel is like, well, that's illegal. So they step on her and tell Courage that if he doesn't drive them to rob this bank, the fat lady is gonna get it.
I knew I should have learned how to drive a stick.
We get this clip of Courage in a robber outfit. And he sneaks into the bank via the ATM that's just connected to the bank via vents. He climbs down to the safe door that's surrounded by lava and puts dynamite all over it to try to blow it up, but the door wasn't even closed, so when it blows up, he just blows up the entire bank and the money. The Foot comes up with another heist, which is to make Courage stand in the train tracks, forcing the train to stop and then robbing the train. The train actually stops in time, but then the Foot slips on a banana peel and kicks the train off into the mountains, so that plan doesn't work. Back at the farm, they try to plan a different heist, probably something in Florida. Courage sneaks off into the attic to research on the computer how to get rid of this fungus. The computer tells him that he needs a sample first, and Courage gets it, and then they find out that the cure is dog spit.
Work up a good drool, baby.
I just know this is going to leave a bad taste in my mouth.
Courage gets down there and starts licking this foot, and I'm gonna tell you, I hate this. I hate this so much. It works though, and Eustace comes out disoriented, and Courage goes to throw up. When Courage is washing his mouth, he hears a voice, and then he sees that his tongue has become the gangster now, and he's talking in his little voice. It's disgusting.
Okay, listen up. Here's the plan, say. Okay, Don, it's like this. How the fat lady gets it, say.
I find feet so gross, so it's safe to say that a foot villain is definitely at the bottom of my list. It's a stormy night and we see this guy trying to seek shelter. He gets turned away from every single house saying gross and ugly.
Sir, you are ugly, hideous, and furthermore, not at all pleasant to look at.
He then spots the farm. At the farmhouse, Eustace is being mean to Courage as always, but this guy, which I'm gonna call the Hunchback because of the title, sees through the window. He knocks on the door and asks Eustace for a room for the night, and Eustace does this. It's actually one of my favorite memes, especially when the guy is a fireball bottle because yeah, he does not let him in his house. Eustace makes Courage get his raincoat, which is in the farm. When Courage goes out, he hears bells coming from the top level and he goes to see that it's the Hunchback playing this song with these bells, and it's really cute. The Hunchback shows him how to acrobat and he's having so much fun until Eustace calls down. He also calls him by his name, which he doesn't normally do. He just calls him dog or stupid dog or dumb dog. Courage hides his friend and then gives Eustace the raincoat. Eustace scares him for no reason. And the Hunchback sees this, and after he leaves, he tells Courage that Eustace treats him so poorly and he tries to cheer him up with these shadows.
Stupid dog. That's better.
This made me so sad because this guy gets treated like for no reason, and then Courage also gets treated like for no reason, and then they become friends because of this. The next day, Muriel tells Courage how worried she was about him because he didn't come home, and then Courage brings in his new friend, which Muriel gladly lets in and fixes up a plate for him.
A friend of Courage is always welcome here.
Eustace walks in and tells him to get the out of his house, but Muriel doesn't let him bully him out, so then Eustace just resorts to making fun of him at the dinner table.
You know how you spell ugly? You.
But then Courage ghostwrites some comebacks for him to say. They just involve him being bald.
You, sir, are extremely bald.
That got steep for Eustace, obviously, we saw. Muriel tells Eustace to go eat in the hen house if he's gonna be a dick. Eustace looks for Muriel for some dinner, but she's not there. He goes looking for her and finds her outside enjoying a concert being put on by Courage and his friends with the bells. But he sees that the Hunchback is wearing his raincoat and this gets him mad.
Get your ugliness out of my coat!
Eustace climbs onto the roof and starts berating Courage about how everything is his fault. And this time his friend has had enough. He defends Courage.
What did that little dog ever do to you?
He backs him off to the edge of the roof and Eustace falls off. He's alive, but he's a little messed up. Hunchback decides that it's time for him to go, and him and Courage... oh my god. And him and Courage bond over some bells. He thanks them for being kind and makes his way down the road, now knowing that there are good people out there. This episode really cut a little deeper because if you think about Courage as a son as opposed to just a dog, it makes what Eustace does to him so much worse. I mean, this is just a kid getting at home and he finds a friend who comes from similar hatred and they form a friendship because of this. It was a really sad episode. I had to take a break after this one because it really made me sad. We see storm clouds rapidly forming over the farmhouse. Inside the clouds, we can see this goose, this God Goose, godly goose, speaking in rhyme, and his theme music is Mozart's Symphony No. 40. He's talking about how lonely he is, and I think he's supposed to be kind of like Zeus because of the thunderbolts. He spots Muriel and falls in love with her. It doesn't stop him from calling her fat though. He is at odds with himself because how can a god fall in love with a mortal? But he decides to shoot a shot anyway. Courage sees him coming down and tries to warn Muriel, but it doesn't work. He comes to the door and pronounces his love for her, and Muriel is like, oh my god, thanks, but I'm married. The goose cannot accept rejection and just keeps trying again and again. And get to the point where she's kind of just being nice to him, but he takes it as a romantic gesture. For example, he brings over food.
Oh, I'm famished.
That goose has gotta go!
Muriel feeds him grapes, and he takes this as her falling in love with him. Then when he asks her again, she's like, no. So at this point, the goose decides to just use force. He kidnaps her and is taking her to the clouds, but before he gets up there, he hears a honk, and it's Courage honking the horn on the truck. The goose falls in love with this honk.
I have found my true love. I have found my queen. No. I am not his queen.
Thus falling in love with the truck. He ditches Muriel and then takes the truck into the cloud to marry it. I don't know, to do whatever he does up there with it. Sometime later, Muriel gets invited to the wedding, and Eustace is sobbing that his truck got stolen.
Come back!
Truly a weird episode, but I'm glad it came after the episode we saw previously because that really put a damper in my day. I think the goose is gross and weird, and I don't like that he's trying to force this married woman to be his wife, even if she wasn't married. She said no. No means no. It starts off with another storm, and our faves and Eustace are chilling in the living room. Eustace scares Courage for no damn reason. And he goes outside and sees a puddle, and he sees this inside the puddle. He tries to warn them. But Muriel is like, oh, it was probably a fish. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating, especially when you as a kid probably relate to Courage the most, and you see him constantly being not believed. Oh my god, it was infuriating. Courage is inside keeping an eye on this puddle, but this girl just pops out of Eustace's teacup. And she hypnotizes him. He comes out of it when Muriel asks him to fix a leak, but then she comes out of the leak as well.
Eustace.
She sprays some pheromones on him, and he is gone. Muriel fixes him up a bath, and she comes out of the bath. And she tells him to come with her. Courage is about to shower, and he walks in on them, so he runs downstairs to get Muriel, and by the time they get back up, they just see Eustace with his head in the drain.
I'm beginning to worry about you, Eustace.
That night in bed, the Puddle Queen goes into the bedroom and snatches Eustace up and takes him to the puddle. I'd like to interject that I absolutely love the creepy music during the sequence. Courage is gobsmacked. He goes downstairs and Muriel is crying that Eustace is gone. Courage decides to save him only because Muriel is upset about this. He puts on his little scuba suit and sees that the puddle is getting smaller, so he knows that he needs to hurry.
The things I do for love.
Absolutely love the scuba outfit with nothing connecting the oxygen tank to his mouth. He finds Eustace and this queen is doing a little dance, a little seductive dance. And Courage sees that the necklace that she's about to put around Eustace
Why does that look familiar?
is on the necks of all the skeletons in her yard. After she finishes, she transforms into this monster and tries to eat Eustace. Courage goes in and saves him, bonks her a little, and then locks her in the clam. He tries to make it to the surface, but the puddle closes. And this fish is coming after us. He sees another opening in the distance and goes to it. And it's from the puddle of tears that Muriel is crying. He comes up through it and immediately blow dries the puddle so that she can get through too. That night during Courage's bath, she pops up again, but this time she has a dog face to try to seduce Courage, and Courage looks terrified. I like the queen of the black puddle. She just did basically what sirens do. They just lure men in, being all pretty, and then once they get them, they just eat them. I thought it was a fun twist. I was actually nervous when the puddle closed on Courage because I did not know how we were going to get out of here. Fortunately for Eustace, Muriel loves him, which I hate. She deserves better. We're hanging out in the living room watching TV when there's a knock at the door. It's this thing.
Hello.
He says his name is Benton Tarantella.
I'm Benton Tarantella.
A play on Quentin Tarantino, obviously. He is a famous independent director. Muriel is starstruck. She lets him in and he tells him that he's been scouting locations for his next blockbuster, Return of the Zombies Beneath the Farm. And he says that he wants to make his movie in this farmhouse. Eustace isn't interested until he pulls out a contract saying that he's going to be paying them $5 million for this. And when they're signing the contract, his face falls off and Courage sees the disgusting face that's underneath the glasses. It's not cute. He tells him that they're starting filming that night, and they take him to the basement where he's gassed about all these shots he gets to film and the angles and all this director stuff. But this is where they're going to be shooting the zombie resurrection scene. Courage tries to take a closer look, and Tarantella's hand falls off. To distract Muriel and Eustace, he tells them that they get to be in the movie. Muriel will be the zombie victim, and then Eustace will be the gravedigger. Courage tries to stop them, but Eustace thinks that he's just trying to steal his part from him. Tarantella opens the basement door and reveals that an eclipse is about to happen soon.
Yeah, this is great. This is gonna be great.
Courage goes to the attic to do some research on this Tarantella, but he can't find anything under independent film directors. He does find an article about amateur filmmakers that slayed 12. Tarantella and Volkheim posed as film directors to lure unsuspecting victims to their fate. Then Volkheim was released on good behavior, but Tarantella died in prison.
Tarantella's a zombie!
Courage tries to find out where Volkheim is, but then he finds out that he's also dead.
Yes!
He was buried underneath this farmhouse.
Not good.
So we're toast. Courage goes downstairs and finds Muriel tied to the table and Eustace still digging a grave. Courage finds his script and reads it, and I thought it was funny. Okay. Scene 1, fool old people. Scene 2, dig big hole. Scene 3, when planets align, dead partner rises from grave. Scene 4, eat old lady. Tarantella sees Courage and has Eustace lock him in a trunk. They both think that he's acting, so they don't believe his screams. The planets are almost aligned, so Tarantella puts Eustace in charge of filming. Once the planets do align, Volkheim rises from their grave and tells him that he's starving. They make Eustace the director so they can eat Muriel. And just as they're about to eat her, Eustace is like, I don't like this shot. We're gonna do something else. He has no idea what to do, so Tarantella tells him to just read the script. But what he didn't know was that Courage secretly grabbed this script and rewrote it. So the next scene on the script is to let Courage out of the box. So they're like, alright, cool, do it.
Yes!
The next scene is to let him bury the two of them, and Volkheim is so annoyed because Tarantella is such a terrible writer.
You are such a lousy writer.
They end their partnership as Courage continues to bury them, and then later they get to watch the movie that they made.
I'm ready for my close-up now. Ouch! Not that close.
Benton Tarantella is horrifying. Not only was he just a murderer straight up in his regular life, he somehow rose from the dead and continues to find victims. That's insane. He uses the desire for people to break out in their acting career against them and then eats them. That's crazy. We start off in an igloo, and this is their timeshare. Muriel is cooking up some soup and tells Courage to go get more firewood. After that, he sees nothing but a snowman. And look at his little feet.
Where did the snowman come from? I certainly didn't build it.
He takes the snowman's stick arms, but the snowman comes to life and snatches them back.
Huh? And what do you think you're doing? Put that back.
He runs back to tell them, but they don't believe him. and they can't even eat the soup that she made because it literally freezes. This time the snowman appears in the window, but by the time they go outside, he's gone again. Eustace scares Courage into the snow desert to find more wood, and then we see the snowman going down his memory hallway, reminiscing about how snowmen used to rule the world. Courage sees the snowman's tracks and follows them to his castle.
I know I shouldn't follow it, but I gotta.
And he lurks in his laboratory. He's going on about how if he doesn't get this anti-freezing gene, he's going to melt. And he's very excited that there's 2 humans that he can get this gene from now, which doesn't seem too bad, but if he's able to get them, that means the humans, Muriel and Eustace, won't have this gene and they'll be the ones who melt instead of him. Courage freaks out, obviously, and tries to warn them. Eustace hears a knock at the door and thinks that it's Courage, but it's the snowman.
You're not the dog!
No, the name's Man. Snowman.
He kidnaps them, and by the time Courage makes it, they're already gone. He uses a sled to get to the castle quicker, and the snowman just finished extracting the gene from Eustace, and when Courage crashes through, he drops it.
Oh, no, no, no! Ah, ah!
He goes to extract it from Muriel, but Courage saves them both, and the snowman chases them onto a frozen lake. Courage breaks the ice on the lake, causing the snowman to fall into the water, and they float away on an iceberg. Unfortunately, without the gene, Eustace melted. They're rescued by this cruise ship, and back at home, Eustace is a liquid in a pitcher. And I say good because who cares about him?
Get the dog!
I understand, like, your friends melted, you're really sad about it. Only Eustace really ended up being hurt, so I can't be too mad at him. Our ice caps are melting and he's just trying to survive. Episode kind of opens up with SpongeBob music, like, am I crazy? There are some ducks flying south, and Courage finds a nest with 1 egg left over.
I'm gonna give this egg a nice warm home.
He brings it inside, and Eustace snatches it up for breakfast.
Huh? Give me that egg!
When he goes to crack the egg, a little duckling comes out and imprints on Eustace. He tosses it. I feel so bad for it.
Yeah, stupid dog! Ooh, hey!
For now, Eustace takes out his anger of not having breakfast out on Courage, and the duck, seeing this, does the same thing. Now Eustace is starting to like this little duck, and this duck is very obedient and serves Eustace like a king. And now Courage has 2 sisters. Muriel brings him some tea, and the duck sees this and gets very, very jealous. He tosses that tea and makes him a spread himself. And Courage sees this and tries to stand up for Muriel, but the duck just hits him with the teacup. Muriel sits in her rocking chair and takes a nap with Eustace. The duck uses this as an opportunity to saw her rocking chair, but Courage stops him and then does this.
Stop that!
He gets kicked out and has to run back in.
Typically I like ducks, but in this case, I'll make an exception.
Muriel is seen taking a bath, and we see the duck bringing cement to the bathroom. He hates her. Courage stops it, but then it starts crying for its mom, and Eustace comes and bails him out again. Muriel makes Eustace some pancakes, and the duck tries to drop an anvil on her head. Courage steps in, and it gets dropped on his head instead. Eustace is in the living room jamming out to some music so he doesn't hear Muriel screaming for help because the duck tied her up to a rocket and is getting ready to blast her into space. Too bad for the duck that it gets its little hand stuck in the panel. Courage saves Muriel from the rocket. Eustace comes up because he hears the duck screaming for help. He tries to save the duck, but they both get blasted up. On the moon, we see the duck rubbing Eustace's feet, and he doesn't have any complaints.
This didn't work out so badly after all, did it?
This duckling, I hate when creatures are mean to Courage. All he did was try to save you. Why would you be mean to him? Didn't like him. Muriel is sick.
Is there a doctor in the house?
And Eustace sees this, and the only thing he hears about is the fact that he's not getting dinner tonight. So he has to go out and get his food. Muriel asks him to pick her something up, and she makes Courage go with him since Eustace never gets the right thing.
I know I'm not gonna like this.
On the road, Eustace sees a sign for cheap burgers and decides to stop there. Inside, there's only one other customer, and they're greeted by the owner, Jean Bon.
I'm John Bone. What's your pleasure?
The man asks to go to the bathroom. After John shows him the way, he takes her order, and Courage is super creeped out because they're the only two people there.
Something smells fishy, or my name is Stinky Lulu. And thank goodness it's not.
The other guy still hasn't returned, and Courage sees John taking his stuff.
I'll hold it till he gets back.
He brings out the burgers, and Courage lifts his bun, and he sees the face of the guy who disappeared in his burger patty. The implication obviously being that they're eating this man. He goes through the same door.
I know I shouldn't.
He overhears the owner talking to his wife, and they're talking about Eustace and him. And the wife makes a comment that she hasn't had dog in a while. Upstairs, John gives Eustace another burger and tells him that once he's done, his wife wants to meet him, but that she wants to meet Courage right away. Courage falls down the stairs yet again, and this time sees a shadow of his wife eating what looks like a dog. He runs for his life, and John chases him, eventually getting taken out by an iron board. His wife comes out and tells Courage that she cannot wait to eat him up. He wastes no time. He goes upstairs, tries to get Eustace to leave, but he doesn't want to. He doesn't care. He just runs all the way home. At home, Muriel assures Courage that Eustace is probably fine. It cuts back to the restaurant and we see a shadow of Eustace's head, but we also see the guy from earlier, and it turns out that the owner's wife makes beef sculptures and they all eat Eustace's beef head.
I still want to sink my teeth into that cute little dog.
So this was a really fun twist because Courage was actually being crazy and nothing was wrong, but we cannot blame him after everything he's been through. Muriel is looking at a cruise brochure.
Boys, we are going on vacation.
Yes!
Eustace doesn't want to leave his chair, so they go on the cruise, but they bring his chair with them. On the ship, Muriel is playing bingo, Eustace is still in his chair, and Courage is seasick and he throws up in this thing, which causes the ship to crash into an iceberg. The ship is fine until there is a tidal wave, and this takes them all out.
No, sir. Not get out of this chair.
They wash ashore and now they are stranded on an island. While they're sitting around, a very familiar song starts playing and we see those eyes. And it's Katz. He is back.
Hello. Welcome to Club Katz. I'm Katz, your host.
He tells them that they're in Club Katz and they will be treated like resort guests. Courage goes to get a drink from this vending machine, and it turns out that it's the ship's captain.
Leave this island.
He tells them to leave because terrible things are happening on this island. Courage tries to go warn Muriel and Eustace, but they're at the spa and there are no dogs allowed in the spa. So Eustace ties them up to a pole outside. He hears tools and then Muriel screaming from inside the spa, so he unscrews his head to get out of the leash.
Things I do for love.
He cannot get in, but he sees Katz coming out through the back, and he has Muriel as a washing machine and Eustace as a wrecking ball. He follows them to a coliseum, and Katz announces that there's going to be a fight. Eustace the wrecking ball versus Muriel the washing machine. The coliseum is empty, by the way. Katz is just using this machine to make applause sounds because he is bonkers.
The dog's gotta do what a dog's gotta do. I'm the only dog here.
Courage runs back to the spot, breaks in, and turns himself into a helicopter.
I know I'm not gonna like this.
He goes back to the Coliseum and saves Muriel, leaving Eustace behind. Eustace sees that Katz is sitting in his chair and starts destroying everything because he wants his chair back. He accidentally wrecks his chair, which makes him even more mad, so he destroys the entire Coliseum. This also includes random appliances that were just laying about, which I can only assume were previous victims who died during the battles. Courage takes Muriel to another ship where he gets sick again and throws up.
Uh-oh.
Katz is truly just psychotic, because what do you mean you're turning people into appliances and then making them fight in an empty coliseum? What does that do for you? Why appliances? He is so weird. We get another return character. We're in a snowy town and things are quiet until we see a giant plunger coming from the sky and taking the heads off of things. It takes the head off of a doll, a mannequin, and the Statue of Liberty, and a stuffed animal that looks just like Courage. Courage wakes up screaming, so it could have been a nightmare. He does get kicked out though from waking them up. While he's getting a glass of water, he sees a light coming from the window and it's a spaceship. Down comes a headless cooked chicken with a plunger from the pilot. Muriel comes down to see what the commotion is. And the plunger snatches her up. He follows her screams to the barn where the spaceship is at, and inside, the chicken shows him this presentation of what he's going to do to him. Snatch his head and put it on his body. Courage is very confused, and then the chicken reminds him of what he did to him. Courage is reluctant to agree, obviously, but Muriel is in danger and he shows him what's happening to her, and it's this. And this has always made me so uncomfortable. I don't know why. I just don't like seeing her look like this and being like plunged like this. It's really unsettling. Courage runs to get help and unplugs his spaceship before he leaves. Eustace doesn't believe him, but Courage beats him with Muriel's slippers so that he can chase him outside. Outside, the chicken has plugged the spaceship back in, so Courage snips the wire to avoid it from turning back on. But now that there's no power and the door is closed, he can't get in. Eustace slipped in before this happened, and Courage just hears a lot of commotion from inside. And then Eustace pops his head out real quick, and Courage is super excited to see that he's okay. But then the rest of his body comes out and the chicken got him. The chicken has Eustace's head on his body. Even though the chicken has a head now, he still chases Courage, who saved Muriel and is running with her on the roof. She's acting so weird and disoriented and I hate it. Courage slings Chicken Eustace from the clothesline back onto the spaceship. But then a giant plunger starts chasing him and Muriel. Courage finds a motorcycle and they're able to escape. One of Muriel's slippers gets stuck on the bike, and this causes them to crash land. They crash next to this target on the floor, and when the spaceship goes to try to get them, it stops right on that target. And this is where a rocket is about to blast from underneath. So when it does, it destroys the spaceship. Later, Muriel and Courage are hanging out outside, and they see Eustace coming back with one of Muriel's slippers. It's just his body because his head is still missing because it's on the chicken that blew up.
Shouldn't happen to a dog.
What I like about the chicken coming back is that he's still exactly how he was left in the pilot, and now he's just coming for revenge. It just reminds me of the old-timey movies where the creature was defeated, but then it comes back for revenge in the sequels. Like, I think it's so much fun. Courage is trying to pump a well, but it is dry. So Muriel orders Eustace to dig up a new well. I absolutely love when she bitches him out because he deserves it. Muriel tends to one eggplant that she grew during this drought, and she's talking to it, telling it how ripe it is, and she can't wait to tear it up. Oh my god. Unfortunately for her, there's a camera on this eggplant.
Then I'll pluck you, slice you, and fry you up.
That's being watched by an underground society of eggplants. They are listening to Muriel's plans to eat one of their kind with disgust.
This is our sworn enemy, the enemy of all eggplants.
And they plan her takedown. Courage is digging the new well because obviously Eustace isn't going to do it. And he stumbles upon this rally and overhears the plan to take down Muriel. He goes toward Muriel, but Eustace sees him and throws him back down the hole. And down at the rally, the leader, Bobby Ganoush, says that they can't attack until the great eggplant comes down and tells them that it's okay to do so. Just then, Courage crashes down with his little eggplant costume, and they think he is the great eggplant.
It's the great eggplant!
He tells them that they need way more training before they can do this.
The great eggplant says, do this.
They do everything that Courage tells them to do, so they tell him that now they're ready. As Courage is leading them, they spot the tag on his costume that says "Made in the USA."
This is not the great eggplant. This is not even the pretty good eggplant.
They realize that Courage is a fraud, and they also recognize him from the surface because he's always with Muriel. So now they think that Muriel sent a spy down. They tie him up and make their way to the surface. Eustace is disgusted by eggplants.
What? More eggplants? I hate eggplants!
So they bury him up to his neck, and then they go into the kitchen and snatch Muriel up. Courage escapes and sees Muriel being tied up, and they're trying to figure out how to cook her. Courage goes to the attic to research these eggplants, and the computer tells him that they only act like this when they run out of water. Courage continues trying to dig for a new well.
I'll be back. I must look for water.
He's able to find water and starts pumping that well. The water flows through like a damn ocean. The eggplants soak it up and they start to root.
We're taking root.
This makes him happy. They compliment her garden and Muriel thinks they're way too nice to cook up, so she has an idea. She enters them in the eggplant contest and they win.
I hate eggplants! Stupid dog!
Can we really count these eggplants as villains? I mean, they were just thirsty. I do not have fond memories of this episode. Eustace is doing some work in the basement and Courage is painting Muriel's chair with quick drying paint. Eustace accidentally nails her chair to the floor. Just then there's an emergency news broadcast about a tornado.
We interrupt this program with an emergency tornado watch.
And Courage accidentally used quick drying glue instead of quick drying paint, so she's stuck on her chair.
Oh no!
She tries moving the chair anyway, and the board that it was nailed to bonks Eustace on the head and knocks him out. The tornado comes closer and closer and destroys the house and also snatches Muriel up. Courage chases the tornado and tries to save her, and this is really, really sad to watch. Courage is able to trip the tornado. And he sees a chair at the top of this mountain. When he goes up to find Muriel, all he finds is 3-year-old Muriel. The tornado somehow de-aged her.
I'm Muriel. I'm only 3.5 years old. Who are you?
Courage brings her back to the farm, and she is the most insufferable kid I've ever seen on TV.
I know I'm not gonna like this.
I'm thirsty. I'm thirsty.
But this is where that meme comes from. She makes him make him macaroni and cheese like 5,000 times.
Ooh, perfect. I hate macaroni and cheese.
Eustace almost wakes up from his coma, but then gets bonked again and gets knocked out. Courage has had it with little Muriel, so he sends her to her room, but then she throws a tantrum, and Courage feels bad because this is Muriel, the woman who takes care of him every single day. That night when Muriel falls asleep, Courage researches on the computer to try to find out a way to fix her. The computer tells him that he needs to put Muriel in a tornado that spins the opposite way from the first one that turned her into a little girl.
Do tornadoes spin in reverse?
Only in the southern hemisphere, you twit.
So Courage books him a flight. On the plane, she's being the worst. And the flight attendant and the pilot jump out of the plane.
I can't take it anymore! I can't take it anymore either! Good luck.
Courage isn't even fazed by this. He just puts on the hat and starts flying the plane. Little Muriel actually made me laugh during the scene.
I'm thirsty. I'm hungry. I'm dizzy. I'm nauseous. I'm gonna hurl. I'm gonna blow chunks.
He finally spots a tornado and just tosses her in. He flies the plane to the bottom of the tornado to scoop her up, and it works. She is back to normal, and Courage flies him home, and they crash land onto Eustace. They're watching TV in their destroyed house, and the news comes on about a tidal wave emergency now.
Crazy weather we've been having, huh?
They're chilling at home, and Eustace scares Courage unprovoked yet again. They hear something outside, and it's this truck that opens up into a stage for the great Fusilli.
The one, the only Fusilli magic stage.
He brought his magic show to the middle of nowhere just for them. Courage is creeped up by these masks. Fun fact, this is my first memory of the theater logo. Fusilli tells Muriel about the magic of being on stage. There's something super sinister when he says that you stay there forever. Muriel goes on stage and reads a script that Fusilli gives her, and there's a loud applause.
How now, brown cow?
Muriel also mentions that she knows how to juggle, and Eustace tells her that she's just embarrassing herself, and all of her stuff falls onto Eustace.
You're a natural.
Fusilli finds this very entertaining and invites them both to be a part of his magic tour. He tells them that they will be rich forever, and this gets Eustace to join. Courage finds a little outfit and also performs. And he gets a loud applause too, so now he can be part of the show. Muriel and Eustace come out of the dressing room dressed like clowns, and their act is
a simple family scene starring Eustace, Muriel, and the cute little doggy.
It's a scene that we've seen many times. They're hanging out. Eustace scares Courage for no reason. Muriel hits him on the head. He has to go backstage to clean off. Backstage, he finds a room full of puppets and 3 hooks with their names on it.
Eustace, Muriel, doggy, no!
Fusilli tells him that they're going to be a part of his act forever. He sees Fusilli's puppet strings coming out of the masks that scared him earlier, and they attach themselves to Eustace and Muriel, turning them into puppets.
I don't feel quite myself.
Courage goes to hide, and he hides in some powder, but then decides to just go out and try to stop him. He looks like a little ghost though, because he's covered in white.
Don't leave her alone! Ah, he's a phantom!
And this scares Fusilli, and he falls off of the, what would you call that? It's like the top stage where all the puppet masters are at to control the puppets. He falls onto the stage, and the light shines on him, just like it did with Muriel and Courage. He performs the same script as Muriel, and the strings start coming down and attach to him turning him into a puppet. Back in the house, Courage is hanging out with the puppet versions of Muriel and Eustace, and he's puppeteering every single moment, including him getting scared by Eustace.
Stupid dog! Booga booga booga!
It's just so sad. So thankful for the reset.
The things I do for love.
And that was it for season 1. I think season 1 started off very strong. A lot of heavy hitters that we still remember to this day were in season 1, like King Ramsey, Katz, and Fred. I wasn't gonna do this, but I decided to rank all the episodes because I don't know, something seems weird about watching everything and not trying to figure out which one is the best, you know? The only one I'm not gonna rank is the pilot just because I think it's so precious and I want it to stay as its own little precious little thing. It's so cute meeting them for the first time, and I can't rank that. It's not fair. This is straight off the dome. I did not write a script for this, so let's go. Bottom up like always. This episode, I feel bad because it is a different type of episode. I can tell they were trying to do something else, but it just did not land for me. I don't watch Courage the Cowardly Dog for silly Looney Tunes action. I like my humor to come more from Courage himself saying something funny as opposed to just this slapstick type of humor. I never found that funny. Say this little granny eating box is at the bottom. Ugh, I don't know what it is about this episode. It just did not do it for me. You know why I don't like this episode is because it's an episode about how much Muriel loves Eustace and I hate him. Seeing Courage try so hard to get her to not fall in love with this goose, even though she never will. But you know, constantly being like, oh, Eustace and Muriel, reminding her of her marriage. Meanwhile, I hate her marriage. He just sucks so much. And on top of that, this goose is so disgusting and weird. He's evil in a different way, you know? He's not sitting there trying to eat them. He's there to force her to marry him. That's so much worse. Again, Eustace-centered episodes are more towards the bottom for me because I hate him. This is the first time that we meet his mom, though, and we see that she is the reason why he is like that to Courage. He gets berated by his mom and then in turn berates Courage. I'm saying berate really loosely. I think we all know what I mean. I didn't enjoy watching Courage be so terrified of what's gonna come to him because of this disgusting man who is the protagonist on the show. It sucks. We do have other episodes with his mom, so I mean we do get introduced to her, and I think it is funny that she is bald. I just think the episode went on way too long in certain parts, like the gifts. Oh my god, I think we spent like a full 5 minutes on her getting the gifts from the flowers all the way until she wanted to take the picture with Courage. And you know, I just felt like I was watching them just do an errand. Like I was watching them grocery shop. It didn't really feel like an episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog. But at the same time, we do get a little bit more of that relationship with Eustace and his mom. And we can kind of understand why he is that way with Courage. That doesn't mean though that we have to accept it. He still sucks. Surprise, another Eustace episode. I think we just spent so much time with Courage trying so hard not to get this guy to blow up anything, but then him still doing it at the end was just like, okay, cool. It just felt like the whole episode was wasted on something that was going to happen regardless. So it's like, why did we need to go through the entire episode trying to prevent it for no reason? It was also full of just Eustace being angry, and I hate him. I don't want the whole episode just revolving around him being angry and poor Courage trying to mediate everything because he shouldn't have to. What I found weird about this duck is that, yes, he imprinted on Eustace, but did he need to be his little servant? He kept calling him mama, but like, little ducks don't do that to their moms. I thought it was so weird. And also just how jealous he got. It was very weird to me. Another creature that just looks at Courage as a punching bag for no reason. Courage tries so hard to be nice, to do the right thing, and he gets abused for it. And it's not fun to watch. And I'm so glad when I was little, at least I didn't really put everything together as to what was happening. These type of episodes suck to watch, especially because there's never really any acknowledgement of it. No one ever comforts Courage as to what happened and saying, hey, you didn't deserve that. That sucked, right? It's never that. It goes away. He's like, yes, my problems are solved. But then the next episode, everything just resets. Trust me, I understand that's what the point of the cartoon is. Like, it's a cartoon, especially a kid's cartoon, so it has to kind of stay at a certain status quo. It has to reset. But watching everything at once, it really makes you wish there was more episodes where the Courage was comforted a little bit more. Yeah, this Duckling absolutely sucks, and I wish Eustace just fried his little ass up. Dilworth liked Dr. Seuss's work and he wanted to do an episode based on that, but just more of an evil version, so they wrote Fred. I always hated this episode as a kid because I'm just watching this little dog be tormented. And it's worse because it's happening right in front of Muriel. So she hears him screaming and she doesn't realize what's happening. And it's super frustrating because she sees that he's bald at the end of the episode and says nothing. In fact, she's upset that Fred is leaving, even though Courage just went through all of that. Oh my god, it's so frustrating. I hate frustrating episodes. And I don't find Fred creepy or scary or anything like that. I just find him disgusting. I find him absolutely gross. Do not understand how he escaped, why Muriel would invite someone like that over, and why she would let him be around Courage alone. This was one of the few episodes that Eustace actually had a point in not letting anyone in his house. This one was just meh. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't my favorite. I mean, yeah, it's super sad their brother's about to get eaten at this random facility. It seems a little bit more pointless because it could have been any human. They just happened to choose Muriel because they're in an isolated farm. But what I do like about this episode is that even after all that, Courage still offers to help them. And I like how it shows how he's just always willing to do the right thing. Again, even though he's terrified, that's probably the only reason why it's not completely at the end. And also that it ended with Eustace still being mind controlled and being a little servant. This episode isn't the best, but it's not the worst. It introduces a new recurring villain, like Quack. You have to call him in order for him to be there, so it's a little different than the other ones that just pick you at random. He lets you pick him, which is interesting for a villain. I think there was just a little bit too much back and forth with Courage. It was him just running in and out of the house constantly to the point where he had to board up the door so he wouldn't leave. I think a little bit too much of the episode was focused on that. It wasn't the worst. I could watch it again. I wouldn't mind watching it again because it is a little bit of a different concept, but it's just not one of my faves. It's not even close to it, actually. This is the second time we meet Mr. Katz. He seems to be very business savvy. Now he's running a luxury resort at a deserted island. Have no idea how he made it there. Have no idea, again, what he gets out of this. Where does he make his money? Because Muriel and Eustace are not paying for anything. I think Katz is one of the scariest villains because I think he has one of the largest body counts. I mean, we saw the appliances. All of these appliances were once humans. That coupled with the motel episode, which we'll talk about later, I mean, he just goes through his victims like nothing. And honestly, at the end, he didn't really get any comeuppance. I mean, yeah, Eustace was trying to get him with the wrecking ball, but we never got to see him actually get him. But it is one of those episodes that we get to leave the farm and go somewhere new and exotic. So that's why I think it's fun. I think they put a lot of effort in these episodes. And also the fact that we get to really see how crazy Katz is. That's why it's towards the middle. Not my favorite, but not the worst. This one I thought was more fun than the ones I just mentioned. I thought it was just so creative. I mean, we have this underground society of eggplants that have been watching Muriel for who knows how long to get revenge. And what I found funny was that Courage usually just shapeshifts to warn Muriel or Eustace, but this time he went off screen to put on a costume, and this stuck with him until he got it ripped off, obviously. And also how he wipes Eustace's forehead. It was just so cute. I love Courage so much. And there was an episode that Eustace gets kind of shitted on at the end. They don't dig him out, they dig him with the ground that he was surrounded by, and then they just leave him like that. The solution was a little bit elementary for me. I know it's a kid's show, but having them not even be evil, they're actually just parched I mean, sure. It just seems a little bit basic. I had a lot of fun with Courage as the eggplant, so that's why it's ranked a little higher. We also see Muriel get kidnapped, but then once everything is settled, she is fine with everything that happened and moves on from it, and even still helps out the eggplants in some type of way. And that's where Courage gets it. So it's cute to see where he gets his positive traits from, and it's obviously Muriel, because she raised him. And I think I'm just realizing now, even though he's been with her since he was a puppy, raised by her, still had Eustace, you know, he never has terrible qualities like Eustace. He never acts like that. He only has the good qualities that Muriel taught him, and I think that is very sweet. Ugh, I hate feet so much. So an entire episode about feet was so nasty, and then the ending, how it had to get resolved, was disgusting. But it was creative. I can't not say it was creative. Courage as a robber, the whole bank thing really just was my favorite part of the episode, and I think that's what helps it out a lot. And once again, he's willing to commit felonies to save Muriel. And the best part is we didn't have to see Eustace for most of the episode. But yeah, for how much I hate feet, this should have been much lower. But there was just something about this episode. I don't know if it was the New York accents that got me. It was creative, it was funny, and at the end the villain was now still on Courage somehow. I don't even want to talk about it, ew. So it just seemed like more of a threat, you know, something like you can't really get rid of, like a fungus, obviously. This being the last episode of the season was, I mean, I don't know if it was the best choice, but it was definitely a good choice. We didn't really end on the best note. Usually it's just Eustace that kind of gets stuck as whatever from that episode, and I don't really care. But Muriel too, and seeing Courage puppeteer his life was super, super sad. Them doing a different ending really helped the episode in my ranking. And this villain wasn't straight up a villain at first. I'm sure Muriel and Eustace never think these villains are villains. Even as just a viewer of the show, you obviously know it's going to be a villain because they always are. There was just something about this one that felt different. He was more inviting, but he had just such a creepiness to him. And I don't know if it was just the environment, but also just the entire audience metaphor. I mean, the audience isn't there. There's no audience. It's just him. But we hear this applause. They're still looking around. They're so proud of themselves for getting that applause. I think they did well. And even Fusili, who knows the trick, he'll drawn into that stage because he just wants to hear that applause, and that's eventually his downfall. So Fusili really isn't the main villain. It's just the theater. It's this idea of being a star, this idea of being adored, and then you just become a puppet in the entire system. And at the end, Courage couldn't even save them. He was stuck with the puppets. This is a Eustace episode, but it's higher because it's not just focused on him. We get to meet Shirley. She is a recurring character. We get to see Eustace's greed on full display, and he actually ends up winning. He gets exactly what he wants. His greed is a huge catalyst for a lot of episodes. I did like that they included that his brother died. It shows back then definitely didn't venture into death, especially if a family member. I mean, I know Eustace is supposed to be old, but his mom is still alive, so you know something tragic had to have happened. And we also see this resentment that Eustace has with his brother, because the brother was obviously his mom's favorite. It seems like she's mad that she's kind of stuck with Eustace instead of his brother. I feel like she's just one step away from saying it should have been you to Eustace. It fleshes out that character. He's awful because his family was off. Still doesn't excuse it though. He should have definitely broken that cycle. Maybe, you know, he never grieved properly. So Muriel kind of pushing him to do something for him, celebrate him in a healthy way was also interesting. Everything that everyone's trying to teach him and do for him doesn't work. I just feel like there's never any character development with Eustace. He's really just the worst. Love that Courage got to keep his ass in there. This one's weird because Bigfoot's mom is the same model as Eustace's mom. We see that a lot in the show. The same background characters are used in different scenarios. They just threw a wig on her and made her Eustace's mom. Another example of Eustace's greed and his willingness to do anything for any amount of money. Even after learning that Bigfoot is just a child, somebody's child, somebody that he refused to help to look for's child. That makes sense. I don't know. He still wants to give him up for the reward. I mean, it just really shows what a piece of shit he is. But yeah, I appreciate Muriel and Courage trying to save him at the end from this angry mob, and the angry mob turning on Eustace. But this just happened so randomly. It happened with the whole little song that we saw, and I just felt like this was one of those episodes that they just had fun with. They go from fighting to randomly performing a dance together, and then all of a sudden they're defending them, versus like an episode like the Duck Brothers where there was beef and then there was a resolution of some sort. This one felt less of that and just more random, silly, goofy fun. I do enjoy that, so that's why it's higher. I did not like this episode growing up, and rewatching it, it's so funny. It just has moments in there that made me crack up. And you know, like, sure, she's annoying, but like she said, she's 3.5 years old. I can't hate her. She's so cute. And just like Courage, this is still Muriel. Muriel is a wonderful, great person. I think she should be allowed to be annoying when she's 3.5 years old, you know? Absolutely broke my heart to see Courage chase a tornado to try to save her. That was just, oh my god, my little heart. I felt so bad for him. I just love that this being the last episode in the season, it got to the point where nothing phases Courage. I mean, the pilot jumps off. He doesn't even scream. He's like, okay. And he just reads the plane manual to fly it while also taking care of this child who's screaming. And the best part is that Eustace was knocked out for most of the episode. So I did say I didn't really love this episode because of the whole Muriel thing. I don't know what it is. It's so gross. Is it not? Seeing this woman just be plunged and making those noises, I don't like it. It brought back so much from the pilot. I mean, I absolutely love that. It had the weird little spotty eggs. And even before the presentation, Courage knew who this chicken was because he remembers doing it. So there's like some continuity in the show, which I absolutely love. And at the end, he says the same line from the pilot, just in his little voice, and the whole little nose thing happens. Oh my god, I love it. Maybe biased because it's not even nostalgia because I don't really remember watching the pilot, more so just appreciation. Eustace did get involved a little bit more, and again, seeing him headless, beautiful, amazing, love it. So yeah, still in the middle, but not bad. I really enjoyed this episode because it was so creepy to think that this pig, first of all, I just realized how they don't bat an eye when it's a fully humanoid animal talking to them and just living beside them. The fact that this pig is serving them human meat is such a creepy thought because we're just so used to it. We're just so used to this being the case, this being something that happens in the show. And then for us to feel how Courage feels and then be wrong about it, oh my god. Love that. My expectations were subverted. I also love though that with Muriel, he will do anything to get that woman out of anywhere to get her to safety. Eustace, he tried for a little bit and just left his ass at the restaurant. He didn't care and he ran all the way home. He never realized what was going on. He went home fully thinking, oh my god, Eustace is gonna get turned into a burger. This one was fun because we had a guy straight up die in the beginning, and his butler didn't give a damn. He knew that man died and just left him there to decompose. I really liked it because the idea of these scary shadows, you're never gonna think it's a living shadow, so seeing those scary figures must be horrifying. And Courage trying so hard to be brave was so cute. And nothing even happened to Muriel or Eustace. Muriel went to the bathroom and Eustace was like hiding somewhere. We are also introduced to the computer this episode, who is a really big part of the show. I don't really like too much of the computer sometimes. I think, again, mean to Courage for no reason. In these earlier episodes, he had a fun back and forth with Courage. It changes just a little bit. We'll get into it when it does. Once again, after Courage plays therapist, he resolves this somewhat villain's problem and he turns into stars. That is beautiful. Once again, we get to see one of Courage's amazing qualities on display at the end. Oh my god, I always love this episode. We're in a new location. We're used to this Kansas type of weather, and now we're in the freezing cold at a timeshare. These people do not spend money on vacations. And the villain being a snowman who lost all of his snow brethren because of global warming. Oh my god. This is almost 25 years old, and it's still relevant. I just thought this episode was so creative. I mean, a snowman trying so hard not to melt, so he extracts the anti-melting gene from humans to then give to himself. And I feel bad. I mean, he doesn't want to melt. He watched his entire species go extinct. I truly wish there was a better way to go about it. He just seemed really desperate. Like, what is he to do? And like I said before, Eustace ended up out of luck once again. We love that. Great villain to be introduced to for the first time. Like I was saying in the Club Cat segment, we saw that guest bug. He has killed so many people, and this is just for his spiders. And maybe because he lost his spiders and he went crazy in Club Cats, I have no idea. Muriel, for once, was not this damsel in distress that Courage had to save. Courage did try to save her, but she ended up saving herself, which I really wish they did in more episodes. Sometimes she's just way too oblivious and it's annoying. I had all the silly goofy things like them playing handball. Such silly goofy fun. I don't remember this episode as a kid, but watching it now, I loved it. I really struggled with how to rank the following episodes. I love siren type of villains that lure men by seducing them and then eating them. I love that genre, whatever genre that is. I love it. So seeing her go through literally every single means possible to get this man to follow her. Teacup, faucet drip, bath. She was persistent and she got him. And we saw her victims. She has a high body count too. Her sweet voice coupled with the eerie music in the background makes for this uncomfortable atmosphere because you hear a inviting voice, but you look around and you know you're not supposed to follow it, but there's some type of comfort with it, you know? Oh my god. I would get taken by a siren so quickly. The fact that the puddle closed, that was insane watching it. I watched it for the first time and I could not believe that he wasn't getting up there. He is so lucky that Muriel loves him so much. It's also weird though that she was crying that much, but in other episodes we see she's just like, yeah, he'll show up eventually. But the ending was just so it was just so weird. I can't tell if it was her pretending to be a dog or just another version of the same type of siren, but just the dog version. You know what I mean? If it's the same person, it's so fucking weird. This one was hard, guys. This one was hard to figure out, but I think I got it. I know, everyone's booing me, but I think the only scary part of this is just King Ramsay himself. He's still saying a lot. I mean, he is terrifying. The whole idea of him is terrifying. He's not really a villain. He's just trying to get back what's his, but he's just so disgusting to look at that it makes him so scary. This whole episode only happens because of Eustace's greed, and his greed isn't even that spectacular. He has the potential to make $1 million off of the slab, and yet he's focused on light bulbs for the attic and just like all this little menial farmer shit that just is so dumb, but he's so greedy. I mean, I think it's just an iconic episode that's hard to call bad because of how much it scared everyone as a kid. It will forever be, you know, one of the top episodes, but I just think other episodes were better. This episode was so creepy because of what it turns Muriel into. She is just a rabid animal. Even the werewolf itself, I mean, the way it comes up through the dirt and the music that comes along with it doesn't help. We also get introduced to the doctor for the first time, and I think it has really good pacing. She's out there, she gets bit, she goes to the doctor, and then she slowly turns into this creature. The only negative I have to say about it was the whole back and forth with Courage as the bunny and the werewolf, and then Eustace with the mallet and Muriel as the werewolf. I was actually going to comment on it that the show loves the rule of threes for comedy. Because typically that's what they do. They go just 3 times, but this went on for a while. I think it was like maybe 5 or 6 that I kept cutting back and forth, and I was like, all right, when are we gonna move on from this? That was the only weak point. Everything else was pretty terrifying, and also it built on that suspense and that tension of, oh my god, is this really Muriel just watching TV? Because the first time it wasn't her. And then at the end, Eustace getting eaten by the doctor. I love when he gets his comeuppance. Even though he didn't really do anything this particular episode, he has done and will do so much worse. I'm glad he's getting his pre-comeuppance. Overall, it was a scary episode. Just seeing Muriel chomp the floor is terrifying. I thought only one episode made me cry. No, a lot more episodes made me cry, and this was one of them. This was just heartbreaking. This being a kid's show, you know, kids are gonna relate to Courage, obviously, because he's the quote son of these two parents. And having one of them be Eustace and just abusing him every single day. And I'm sure like kids who have gone through some struggles watch the show as comfort and just relate to that part. And it just made me so sad to think about how Courage finds happiness in everyday situations and how much Eustace tries to ruin that. And I just kept thinking about Courage's episode as a child and Eustace being his dad and being the absolute worst. And then having him find someone who again gets treated horribly by every single person, and then both just not caring about anything else besides their friendship and having fun with each other. And then Muriel, of course, sweetest person ever, treats him with kindness too, just like Courage did. And this episode, obviously not scary, but taught us such a great lesson on how to treat others with respect regardless of what they look like. There are kids who suffer with physical deformities, get treated bad just because of the way they look. And I'm just hoping that maybe one kid out there watching took that lesson from this episode and then treated any kid that was different with the same kindness that Courage treated the Hunchback. Although this episode was beautiful, made me cry, still making me cry. The reason I love Courage is because of how scary it is, so that's why it's not a number one. An Exorcist parody on Courage the Cowardly Dog is insane. This was so scary, and I love that they pushed this boundary as far as kids shows go. The Exorcist was like one of the scariest movies out there. Don't really know why it wasn't that bad, but for the time, yes. But it's just so fun to see. And Muriel's demon voice is so terrifying, but Courage still manages to be funny with little random things that they do. And the throw up scene, I mean, oh my god, it was just gruesome. 10 out of 10, scary to look at, but there was one that I liked a little tiny bit better. Oh my god, this one, oh my god. It wouldn't have been this high if it weren't for the scene where Courage figures out this guy is a murderer. He killed 12 people. And I don't know what it is. It really reminds me of Terrifier. Because spoiler for Terrifier, Art the Clown is just a vessel for this greater evil and he does all of his bidding. Obviously this guy was evil in his human life, did something even more evil, resurrect him so that he could continue to do this. His MO is still the same. He uses his whole director thing to lure his victims in. The whole premise of the episode I found creative as opposed to Demon Mattress. It was just kind of a parody-ish of The Exorcist. I'm not sure if this is a parody of anything. Nothing that I've seen personally. Also, Benton Tarantella is hilarious. And my favorite, oh man, my favorite part is just, it still manages to be funny. Courage steals the script and they're so adamant on following the script that they're playing completely. And then Volkheim tells him that he's a shitty writer. And then at the end we get to watch the movie. We don't get to watch much, but we do see Courage burying them. And I just couldn't believe how much fun I had with this episode. So initially the plan was to do the entire series in one video, and then they spent 12 hours filming this first season. So we're going to be splitting them up by season. If you have made it this far, thank you so much. Please subscribe, comment down below, let me know what you thought. Make sure to like the video, that supposedly helps. I'll see you for season 2. Bye!
Blue dreams, I'm with the stars when I face blunt. She a nightmare, but it'd be hard for me to wake up. Let me know what choice to cut off and get my cake up. Fuck a whole comments and my soul is